You know, I think something I love about national parks, and certainly Shenandoah is no different, is the sense of perspective. These mountains have been here, and they will be here. And so often we get caught up in our daily lives and in the stress of those things, and sometimes problems just seem so big. And when you take the time to go to a national park and sit on a rock wall and look at the view, that view has been there for millions and millions of years, and you gain a sense of perspective, and that's one thing I just absolutely love about national parks. There are many threats to Shenandoah National Park right now. We're looking at invasive plants and unfortunately finding new ones every few years. So we have things called bittersweet and mile-a-minute weed. And these are things that are actually changing the ecosystem. So we go in, and while we may not ever be able to eradicate them, we are at least trying to hold them at bay.
The environment here has evolved together since the last ice age. So it's whether it's microbes, mammals, birds, insects, plants, they've all evolved together. And to introduce something new into that system, or take something that's already existing out, has an impact throughout that system, beneficial or not. This is Tree of Heaven, Ailanthus. One way to tell it's Ailanthus, can you smell that musty smell? Is it looks a lot like sumac, and anything that has this musty smell is Ailanthus. And this is a problem because if you cut that, it will resprout. If you cut a big one, it will resprout hundreds of sprouts, so you literally have to cut it and spray the trunk to kill it. This is one called Oriental Bittersweet, another vine from Asia. This vine, we have cut some of these vines in this area that were 3 to 4 inches in diameter, 25 to 30 years old. This is a young one. It will wrap itself around the tree, cut off the nutrient flow to the tree, and eventually bring the tree down. One dead giveaway for this vine: when you pull it, you can see the orange roots. The roots are very bright orange on these. You know, we don't know what else is on the horizon, but I can guarantee you there is something we don't anticipate that's out there and will show up. So optimistically, if we can keep people involved in knowing that invasives are a problem, hopefully we'll get the volunteers out to work and eradicate them. We need to educate the public on what it is they buy when they go to a nursery to buy plants for their yards. We need to educate the horticulture industry to basically stop selling this stuff that is considered invasive, because it is a problem. If we can do some of those things, then the outlook is good. But even there, budget-wise, the removal of invasives is about a $120 billion a year industry for state, federal, and local governments. And there will be no increases in funds over the coming years to deal with the problem.
And we've had 2 investigations in the park, again working with partners, this time again with the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries. The last one we did was specific to bear gall and ginseng, so that's both plant and animal. But the bears, we were able to track bear gall leaving the park and going as far away as Korea.
Well, ginseng for millennia has been a key ingredient in Chinese medicine. It's believed that it increases your energy and stamina. It's got curative powers, they believe, and it's also known to be a sexual aphrodisiac. So the Chinese traditionally have sought a supply of ginseng. A lot of their wild ginseng, or probably most all of it, is gone. So their only supply comes from Siberia or from North America. Here in the Appalachian mountain regions of the United States, we have some of the last colonies of ginseng.
There was actually a sting, essentially, operation set up with the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries, and it was a 3-year undercover investigation that led to nearly 400 state and federal convictions.
We had a multi-year operation called Operation Viper, which was an undercover investigation on wildlife poaching, where we actually had a storefront in the town of Elkton, and an agent with Virginia Department of Game and Inland Fisheries was the proprietor of the store, and he bought and sold lots of illegal wildlife parts, and ginseng. And some of the ginseng roots that came from these plants were actually sold to him.
So cool.
We were able to track that back to the poachers because we had them under surveillance, and we were able to follow them all the way to the store. They were charged with felony Lacey Act violation.
Trees in the summer transpire moisture. That's in fact how the Blue Ridge got its name, because of the moisture the trees would transpire. Trees are big water circulating entities. They take it in at the roots, it goes up the trunk and goes out through the leaves. And that blue haze was gave the mountains their name. And high ozone levels cause the stomata in the leaves cells to shut down, and what that does is stop transpiration, stops photosynthesis, and the trees are stressed as a result. So high ozone has an impact on the trees. Heat has an impact on the trees and the plants here in the park. We don't think about plants suffering in the heat, but they do.
The Shenandoah salamander is a tiny amphibian that is only found on the highest peaks in Shenandoah National Park, and it's globally rare. This is the only place on Earth where this salamander is found. So it's very special, and that's why it's given the name Shenandoah salamander, because this is its only home. Because the salamander lives in such a vulnerable position at the tops of the mountains, what's going to happen when the temperature rises? Will it be able to adapt to that change? What will happen to the humidity levels? If we have extreme drought conditions, will it get to the point where it can't tolerate the decrease in moisture?
The Shenandoah salamander, which is our endangered species, is found only on the western slope of 3 of the peaks here in the park. And it's already at peak elevation, so it can't go any higher. So as the climate warms, and as the redback salamander moves into more of its territory, we stand a good chance of losing the Shenandoah salamander, which just is not as competitive for whatever the reasons are.
One other thing I think that's really important about national parks is its ability to connect. Connect people not only to nature, and so many of us are so removed from nature. Taking that time to stop and look at and watch an insect crawl across a rock. We don't generally take that time, and being able to make that connection, but it's also about making connections with our friends and family. And I can tell you about the special times I've been here with my kids. My son and I have done a few hikes together, and it's just the 2 of us. And really being able to just be the 2 of us together, it gives us that time alone, away from equipment, away from the television, and to be able to just talk about anything, about what we're seeing, but also about our lives. And there aren't a lot of places that give you that committed time to connect with your friends and family.